Andy, thanks so much for being on the podcast. It's Ethan's ministry. So grateful you're here. You're a great, phenomenal, just creative helper in the creative industry with the church and whatnot, just the creative side of things. So grateful you've been doing a great job.
Thank you.
So I thought of you when I thought of someone else to be on the podcast. So I was like, Andy, let's see what Andy has to say. We've had Pastor KJ. It's been great.
Yeah.
We've had my best friend Ray on the podcast, but we haven't had anyone in the creative industry or side of ministry.
No pressure.
Yeah. So, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you so much. I appreciate very gracious offer. Just asked to come on. I'm more than happy to. It's exciting to see where this is going and think what you're doing with all this. But I mean, like you said, my name is Andy. I work at the chapel. We've been there 10 years. Been on staff for 8, but chapel's just been home, man. And really it's a fun, I don't know if we'll get into it or not, but it's such a fun journey, even on the creative aspect of where things went and how things have happened. But it's been really special.
We can definitely dive into that. We can start with that if you'd like. Just
sure.
What does it look like getting to the point you are now?
Yeah. So I mean, when I joined chapel, I actually did an internship similar to you. That was how I first started. I graduated from college, and then I felt like I was called to go into ministry, so I reached out. And at the time, Jason, he still is, but he was the campus pastor in Richmond. And I hit him up and was like, hey, let's get tacos and talk about an internship. So we got some tacos. They're awesome. Great. And we talked about it, and they hadn't done an internship yet. It was kind of a new novel concept. And so Jason was like, yeah, we haven't done that, but let's do it. Why not? This sounds like a thing, let's give it a shot. He was kind of new. He'd only been there for about 3 months at that point. So he was kind of just coming in. And so I jumped in, did an internship similar to you. My internship was a little, unorthodox, because I showed up day one and was like, all right, so what am I doing? Right? Like, tell me what to do. And he was like, well, we don't have a youth ministry at our Richmond campus. So that's going to be your job, is you start that, you build that. That's it. I'm like, great. So who's like the one really in charge? Like, right? Who am I learning from? He's like, well, there isn't anyone. We don't have anyone like on staff or anything. So, I'll of course he was like, I'll be, I'll help you and stuff and teach you as much as I can, but, run with it. You know? And so, so started that, did that internship, and then got hired after, did a 9-month internship, and
good. Wow.
Came on staff after that. And, but then, I've kind of worked different ways to get to where we are now with creative stuff. Is our person who was kind of leading our production, and really kind of owning that space, a technical genius, Andre,
oh my gosh,
just so smart, incredible. But during COVID, he left to go to Texas. His whole family, they moved. And so it was kind of a quick transition. And I remember Pastor Jason was like, or I actually went to him. I was like, hey, so who's coming in? Are we looking for someone? We're going to bring someone in to fill his spot. Cause I mean, he was a key player. Absolutely. And, at the moment, it was in the middle of COVID, so it was a pretty tricky time to even be thinking of bringing someone else in and trying to make that step. And so he's like, well, I think we'll just add that to your plate if you're okay with that. And I was like, well, I don't know any of that stuff. Like, I mean, I'm happy to help, but I don't know anything at all, right? I even asked Andre, I called him up and was like, hey, how much information can you download to me of what you know in like a week? And he's like, almost nothing. He's like, you can't.
Thanks for the help, man.
It's not possible to learn all, because he knew so much. And then it kind of went from there, and over the years done different things and gotten to step in different areas, and now it's so cool
how you've been used. I mean, you've clearly been used. I remember it was, I don't know, emotion day or something. You needed some guys to lift something heavy.
Yes.
And you talked to me and some other. It was a minute ago. I put your contact in as Andy Chapel. That's easy contact name there. But it's so cool how you start with the internship. And what I love about internships, and this has probably definitely been it's applicable to your life.
Right.
Is that with the internship is that you got to see a little bit of what was like without too much commitment.
Totally.
You're still sort of committed, but not too long term. Plus, in an internship versus like a full-time job, for example, you can get experience one place and maybe use it somewhere else. But of course, you continue to use it in the chapel.
Yeah.
But it's definitely good to dip your toe in the water, see if you want to dive in.
Right.
Before just jumping in and getting into it 100%. So
you just said obviously that you learn a lot through the internship. Kind of curious if it's okay to ask you, like, what's something you've learned recently?
Oh my gosh,
in the internship?
So thankful for it, first of all. Like, so
absolutely.
grateful. I mean, the leaders, I just talked to Pastor Joel about this literally before this.
Yeah.
I was just like, you guys lead so well. Like, I'm learning so much about leadership, about how it's not bossiness. Like, it's far from that. I haven't really been taught too much about that subject, to be honest. So it's cool, like, learning these new things. Like, whoa, this is against what I thought leadership was.
Yeah.
This makes so much more sense to be gentle, but also courteous and have the balance between that. And then, of course, some, not strictness, but I guess like, just strong courageousness.
Absolutely.
Versus, versus sternness, whatever. So great leadership. So thankful for that and learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
I guess I've learned so much about ministry and what it actually is. Yeah. Because when you're part of it and you're being served, you don't know what it's like as much as to serve. Right. And you're naturally, it's not like, it's just a difference in roles, I guess, different dynamic. Yeah. When you're serving, you know what's going on and that you understand the sacrifice and whatnot.
Yeah, you see a lot more.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's definitely a behind the scenes look, pull back the curtain.
Yeah, definitely could say a lot more on that. But
100%.
Yeah, I'm sure it was something you realized when you started, like, oh, wow, this is what I thought it was, because I've been seeing this because you were at the church for 2 years before you're on staff. I've seen this been put on for 2 years. Yeah. I didn't expect A, B, and C, and then all the behind the scenes that Andre taught you. And how did you learn to do what you're doing now in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll answer in two ways. Sure. One, I'll answer the actual question, which is how did you actually learn stuff? Yeah. A lot of it was through self-learning, asking questions from people. I think any great leader is someone who asks great questions, right? The value or what you retain or what you get is going to depend on what questions you ask. And not like a nagging, boring kind of question, but like really being intentional about, hey, I want to learn this, and I'm going to make it so easy for you to tell me how to do this and teach it to me. I don't want to add to your plate. I want to make it easy for you to impart something to me, right? And so I ask a lot of questions. I still do. There's still so much I don't know. But it was a lot of question asking, a lot of being like, hey, how do you do? Why do you do that? I don't understand it. Like, talk me through. Hey, you know what? I have this thing I need to do. Would you be willing to come with me and just walk me through it a little bit? Like, things like that. A lot of questions. And then the other thing is, at the end of the day, I don't actually know a ton. The truth is. But I think a strength of mine has not been knowing all of it, but finding people that either have potential or already do know stuff and raising them up to do it. I think one of the things I prefer to do and I like to do is every role I've ever had, I like to work myself out of a job. Absolutely. 100% raise people up so they're doing it better than I can do it.
It's good.
And then, because I mean, you can't receive if you're holding on to something still, right? Wow. So there's never, if you're thinking, man, what else could I do? There's no other things you could do if you're already still holding on to this. If you haven't released, you can't receive, right?
Dude, that's really good.
So I think I don't know that much, but
thanks for sharing that leadership tip. I think the best leaders give it out, pass the baton. Yeah. The best leaders raise better leaders, and honestly, it's a selfless. And I'm thankful that you have a selfless heart, a sacrificially loving heart. Yeah. To give other people your position, because of course we're doing all ministry out of humility that God gives us. Yeah. Because we've been privileged to have this opportunity. Why don't we share it with others? Right. Why don't we pass it off, of course, responsibly? But it's so cool how who are some of those people you want to shout out some names? Maybe tell me about how you've seen them be a sponge instead of a rock. KJ explained this morning, like a sponge soaks it up and and then, but a rock, if you pour water on a rock, it's just gonna splash off and doesn't go in. Tell me about that.
Man, well, one person I'll shout out who's immediate I could think of is Brady. Brady Latessa, if you know him, he's at our Moseley campus, and the reason I shout him out because he's very recent, a year and some change. But he's a young leader. He's 20. And he came in, it's funny, and I don't think he'd mind me sharing this. He came in feeling like he knew some things. He's a very technically gifted person. his brain just works in a way that mine will never work. Like he just sees the connections, the digital world in such a unique way. But he came in and pretty quickly he made a shift in his mindset and was like, you know what? I want to be a sponge. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to become the best leader I can. I want to serve people better. And over the past just year, I would give him so much props and so much honor because he has grown so much. And not just from my perspective, the amount of people that have come and said, hey, dude, I just met Brady and he's incredible. Like, oh my goodness. Like I saw how he was leading people, how he was running this and doing that. And like they just have so much praise. And that just comes from his heart to learn. So he's somebody I would say that is just really soaked it up and he's continuing to do that.
And I think that's genuinely a reflection of you. So I want to give you props for that.
I appreciate that.
Obviously, I feel like there were no bad teams, just bad leaders.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Oh, dude.
Or
that's a word right there.
A lot of the times.
Come on.
So
it's so true.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, sure, they can pick their candidates, but it's like that's their fault. A lot of the leaders need to take responsibility the most, So I love the way you lead, at least from a distance. Obviously, I can tell I haven't been up close yet.
Sure. Yeah.
Be grateful to see that at some point. But I'll actually be at Moseley Sunday with
Let's
you guys.
go.
So I don't know if you knew that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, because you're going to do the Young Communicators. Yeah.
So thankful for that opportunity. But
that's going to be sweet.
Yeah, dude. It's going to be
so
wait
good.
For that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so cool. So Brady, 20-year-old.
Yeah, I know.
And you know what's cool is like that generation,
yeah,
they got that technology mind. I don't know what it is. Just,
oh my gosh, yes.
Because they grew up with it, so it's normal, right? And they're just like, ding, ding, ding.
He's telling me about coding and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know anything. I don't know a coding language. Like JavaScript, I think is one. I don't know. I don't know it. Like I couldn't write anything. You know, Brendan is another great one. You got to shout out Brendan because
amazing.
When he joined, he was. It's funny. I actually got an email. KJ had sent me an email and said, hey, here's this dude who wants to join production. And apparently he has experience building like sets for like a stage, like theater. I think there was confusion there because Brendan does not know how to do that. And he confirmed that later. He's like, I don't know anything about that. So I think there was maybe a name got mixed up there. But the cool thing was, he came in and he was very, just humble, quiet guy. And I mean, look where been able to grow and where he's gone, and I think that's just another guy that. Oh my gosh! When I first met him, we sat down and just like chatted and stuff. You could just see that there was a future there, right? There was something. I think you see that a lot, right? When you have a conversation with someone, it's less about what they're saying and more just there's a feeling you can see it on them of like,
good.
Hey, there's somewhere this person could go.
Right.
I believe like there's a future and that they're gonna kill some stuff if they're submitted to God, of course.
Yeah, 100%.
And his plan, but. Yeah.
A huge thing I was just talking to Pastor Joel about is you can tell if something's for you, if God's called you to something, you see fruit, fulfillment, and feedback.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, triple F, right?
Oh, so that's good right there.
You see fruit from it.
Yeah.
You see you're fulfilled in it and you get the feedback. Yeah, you're doing a great job. Like,
right.
And whatnot. But I just want to, pour this into you a little bit.
Please.
Just thought about how you're pulling Brady up. And KJ and I just talked about this morning at a meeting.
Yeah.
How the best leaders or anyone should be doing this, really.
Yeah.
You should grab a hand down here. Kind of like if you're, Paul, like you're grabbing your Timothy.
Yeah.
And then say you got Paul that's one step above you and they're grabbing your hand. And as they're pulling you up,
you're taking someone with you.
Yeah, exactly. Because as you learn, ultimately, I think God is the one who grows us. This is why, because I love 1 Corinthians 3:6. I planted the seed, says Paul. Apollos watered it. He gave the ministry of the Corinthians to Apollos.
Yeah.
Apollos continued to water it, but God has been making it grow.
Yeah.
The thing about the sun, right? The sun grows the seed ultimately. Like we can water it, but it's like that sun needs.
Absolutely, it's
and
vital.
We can't control that, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think that's something a huge leadership tactic. Like God, what do you grow the seeds we've been planting?
Yeah.
God, we can't do it without you.
That's such a
sort
good
of
word.
Mindset. Yeah.
What do you think? So I think another key factor of that, right, is regardless of where you are in a chain, you're always reaching down and also reaching up. So I'm curious, what about for you, where you're at right now? I know you're doing an internship. Where do you feel it's obvious where you're reaching up, but where are you reaching down?
Sure, that's good. Great question. I just met up with a guy Wednesday morning. Yeah. We got some coffee from the chapel.
Absolutely. Nice. Come on.
Starbucks going bankrupt since we're not there anymore. Just
So
kidding.
true. I've been to one Starbucks in the past like 6 months since Chapel
'cause it's
Cafe
like,
opened up.
it's right there.
I know, right?
So
Like, why would I go
simple and easy,
further?
and it's donating to the ministry.
Exactly.
So we met it, got some coffee.
Yeah,
Had to
yeah.
remember where I
No,
was.
you're good. Yeah.
Went to the gym. It's just amazing guy. Actually love what I kind of with the system God's put in my heart, which is evangelize, find guys, get closer to them, like pray that they find Christ, which a couple of guys that I'm kind of pulling up right now, which I'll get to.
Yeah.
Thankfully have said yes to Christ in the past couple of years. So
Wow.
I find them at places like, I don't know, Panda Express or like could be anywhere.
That's where people need to be going. If you haven't found the people to
That's
evangelize, go to Panda Express.
They're ready to go, They need Jesus in there. So
absolutely.
everyone does, obviously.
Yeah.
But the gym,
okay.
great place for ministry.
Wow.
So I find a couple guys there, and they've definitely been hanging around me. I think you can have a friend, but then it's also like you understand the relationship dynamic. You're obviously mentor just as much as you are a friend.
Yeah.
Friends can be mentors too, but it's like you kind of have that, you feel it.
Totally.
So yeah, a couple guys that I've found out there.
Love that.
The Lord's put in my heart, and we'll go work out. We'll just hang out, and you drop verses or encouragement whenever you can. And I think a lot of people can tell by your actions just that you know the Lord, and they can look up to that,
right?
And have a healthy comparison. Oh, they're this way. I kind of inspire, not in a jealous way, but I inspire to be like that. Let me be around this person more. So
100%.
I think that proximity is powerful to them.
Yeah.
And you get to be used in that way.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I just also want to affirm that I think you definitely carry a humble evangelistic spirit. And what I mean by that is you're not the dude coming in like, I want to smack you with all the knowledge that I have of God, but you're coming in with like, God changed my life, and I just care about you. I care enough not to leave you where you are, right? Like I want to invest in your life and see fulfillment like I have. And so I just want to affirm that in you. I think that's powerful, and that's special, and it's unique. Not everybody is able to do that in that way. So
thank you.
Seriously.
Appreciate that. And
Absolutely.
huge part that relates to what you just said is 1 Corinthians 8:1. I love it. It says knowledge builds up, knowledge
flip it a little bit.
Knowledge puffs up, love builds up.
Yeah. Come on.
So just thankful that we don't have to rely on our own knowledge. It's just our love.
Absolutely.
Obviously that can minister, bring people in. Obviously that the love though, not to go too deep in there, but in Greek, agape means sacrificial love. So it's like sacrificing builds up. It's sacrificial love.
Absolutely. I mean, second commandment, right, is to love your neighbor as yourself. That there's no greater love than to lay your life down for a brother. Like there's all of this idea of loving other people is incredibly important and powerful. And you do that great job. Seriously.
Thank you. Grateful for that. The way God's worked. But so we've kind of gone over like what you do and the way you've pulled people up and whatnot. I guess I was curious kind of going into this, and I don't know how much time you have, but
good.
Cool. Yeah, we had a question like, should every church have your position as an option? And like why or why not? What churches might or might not?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. Well, I'd say in a digital and very creative culture, at least in America, I think in cultures that have that, yes. I think in cultures that maybe don't really, that's just not a big driving factor. So, potentially a less maybe economically forward culture, maybe not. I think that, or it would look different maybe is a better way to say it. I think at the end of the day, what is being done in the creative space is less about being cool, flashy, and creative, but finding what are the modes and ways to get the story to people. How do we take the why? So example, we just had fireworks, right?
Yeah.
Fireworks at the chapel, incredible, amazing time. So much fun.
The best, dude.
Fireworks were legit.
Yeah.
They were solid. It was like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
It was a solid
They always
show.
got me when they took a break.
Yeah, and you're like, it's done.
And
then it was back in.
Nope, not done. 10 more minutes of
Exactly. But in an event like that, we could capture some really flashy stuff and we could put it out and be like, cool, this is, just some awesome, cool stuff, right? Some fireworks and people doing stuff. But that doesn't really do anything. That just shows how cool we are, which doesn't matter. That is not important. But the idea, the reason we capture, footage and photos, things like that are twofold, right? It's one, to really show, hey, here's what God is doing. We want to give him honor, right? We want to show people this is God, not us. God is doing something special. We're thankful for that. And then the second is, how do we get other people to take a next step? And using content sometimes allows us to take that next step, because whether it's the next step of you should be here because it looks like it was something awesome that you'd want to be a part of, or it's something more depth. So example, we did like interviews yesterday where I just asked people, tell us, what God's done this summer in your life, right? Or these different moments where we're drawing out what God is doing. And then when you put that content out there, you are now the focus has become not on you, not on the chapel, it's on God and what God is doing. And so I think the idea behind creativity, and I know this is a long answer to your question.
No, you're fine.
I think that every church should have some sort of way that is taking what is happening and then putting it out in a way that people receive it. If you just send people a bulletin these days or something, 90% of them aren't reading it. Right? If you just send an email, a lot of people are sending it to spam or just not even opening it. And so there's just a different way of communicating in this day and age. And so I think that it is crucial that you find what is the communication that's needed for your culture, your context, and then you're engaging in that to show people what is God doing, so that you can stir something up in their heart and in their spirit and their souls, that they're like, I want to be a part of that. I want to see God moving like that in my life, my family, my friends, whatever. So yes, I do think that probably every church should have a variation of things within the creative. I think it's going to look different, especially budget wise. It's probably going to look different. Smaller churches versus a larger church.
Big time.
Different countries, et cetera.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I do think there should be some way of saying, how are we communicating what's happening to those who weren't there?
Yeah, and it's not about the way it gets across as much as it getting across.
Absolutely.
I think, and it's cool how you were explaining, like, I think everyone needs what we have. It's not in our particular way. They don't need what we have, but they need the communication lines, of course.
Absolutely.
Because, you look at Paul, he's writing letters to churches. He's communicating. He's doing what was normal back then.
Exactly. Right? That was the best way to do it then.
Yeah. So at its core, it's similar to even some patches, like similar to what Paul did.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Missionaries probably do now. It's just, how do we curate?
Communicate it?
Yeah, exactly. So
absolutely.
Yeah. What's cool is you guys do it really well.
Thank you.
It's seriously amazing. Like,
incredible team.
Yeah.
So many people are part of it. Like, it's hard to even say like one person is really a driving force. Like, there's so many from staff to volunteers. There's so many people that just help create it. Yesterday there was like 5 to 7 people that were a part of the creative experience, and it's just a lot. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think it's like a spoke on a tire. Like, the bike could roll without one spoke if it broke. But is it gonna roll well? Is it gonna last? What's the longevity on that?
That's
what about
so
2
good.
spokes? What about if one's bent? So leaders are good at. You guys are good at keeping spokes in line.
Yeah, getting more and more in there.
Sometimes the spokes need like maintenance and whatnot. It's just like leadership. Sometimes you got to redirect or make decisions. But
100%.
I know that we've talked a lot about leadership, because that's a lot of what you do. So it's cool we've been able to dip into that a little bit, not just talk about what creative is, but also how you do it and why and whatnot. And I think you're really good at being sharp on like, this is why for God, because you weren't like, oh, we're doing it so we catch attention for people, or we look like, you even objected to that immediately right off the bat. You're like, it's not just that. Obviously, sure, you want to make this place look warm.
Course,
but for God, because it's consistent with the Bible, so it's righteous to put up lights. It's not bad. There's nothing wrong with
definitely
that.
Definitely not. Yeah.
But look, this is for God ultimately. I think as long as it's consistent with the Bible and it's not against God's character, like, and it draws people in, it's totally okay and totally permissible to
absolutely
promote the way we do and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's some objections to that culturally, like,
totally,
some people against it. I think it might just be the way they grew up and they like what they're used to and whatnot. So totally understand that. I know what I'm used to, which is what we have going on. So it's like more of a taste thing rather than this is right or wrong, more of a preference.
And even just going off that real quick, I think agreeing with you, if we don't offer and through the content that's going on, if we're not offering something that's different than a concert, that's different than a show or different, those kind of things, because all of those look super cool too. Like, you know, there's some amazing events and stuff happening that looks awesome and I'd like to be at because it seems fun. But if we're not offering something different, if it's, and God is the difference, right? Like there's life change. If we're not offering that in the content, then why would they choose that over any of the other million options they're being exposed to, right? They have to say, you know what, there's something different here that none of the other options are giving me. And I know I'm missing something and none of these are giving it, so I'm going to try that one because they included that, right? More than the flashiness, because there is flashiness lots of places. You know, there's a lot of things you could put out. So I think we have to offer something different. It has to be upfront.
Yeah, and some people are they're hurt from a church, unfortunately, and so they come into a church that's synonymous to that, or it looks the same. Yeah, and they're not traumatized, but they don't like the way it looks. Right. And sometimes that's keeping them from God, and so it's like, how can we, obviously, again, stay consistent with God's character in the Bible, but also provide something different? And you guys, I mean, phenomenal at it. You know, I remember the first time coming into church, I think I came for God, but also part of it was like, okay, this is also a warm place. Like, it doesn't feel awkward. Yeah. The lights are dimmed at a perfect setting. Yeah, sort of the details. Like
there's a spotlight on you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or like the hospitality. It's all the factors. There's no one thing. It's not just creative or just the pastors or just the leadership or just the volunteers. It's like, obviously, but creative has like a big spoke on that tire. Sure. Where it's like, if that was bent, like this tire wouldn't roll the same. Right. You know? It'd be different. Who knows how long we'd take it. Take the bike ride, you know. So thankfully, you know, been able to see that, you know, not keep me in the church, but it is a very important factor to me. It's like, okay, is this awkward, or is it actually like a life-giving place where I feel included and others feel included, and we have community and whatnot. So I think creative team definitely adds some spice to it. Yeah,
sprinkle something in there.
Yeah. So
that
changes it up a little bit, but 100%. Didn't have too much else for you. Just wanted to
You're good.
ask, I mean, what's one big way, I guess you might have like one time, there's obviously so many times probably that you've seen God work, but what's one or two like big examples where you saw God work through what you do?
Yeah. Okay. That's a great question. Let's see. You know, here's a kind of a very quick nuanced one where, and then I'll give you a big one too. But there have been countless people, I can think of a couple specific ones, but countless people that have simply seen an Instagram photo or an Instagram video or something quick like that, or, you know, the yard signs. Now, I didn't necessarily have a hand in making the yard signs, so I want to be clear, but they are a creative aspect. They're within that culture. And those yard signs, the amount of people that have shown up to Easter or, you know, to Christmas, those kind of things, and they said, I saw a yard sign and I decided to come. And you might think, wow, we spent, you know, 50 cents on a piece of, you know, cardboard, whatever, with, you know, metal or whatever it is. But that turned into potentially someone entering the kingdom of God. Right. And so there are so many people that have that exact story. Just countless amount of people. There's an amount of people that have said that they watched 21 Days of Prayer online, and that's how they first got connected with Chapel, right? Someone was like, hey, I know you're on your way to work. Like, here, just check out this link. And bam, shot them off of the link, right? They watched it in their car or on their way to work or wherever. And they were like, I think I should be there on Sunday. Like something, whoa. Like, I didn't expect this. You know, this is 7 a.m. I'm getting started on my day. And it triggered, you know, that piece of that creative avenue got to them. It connected them. They hadn't even physically been in the building yet. Because again, you know, it's not about buildings. Our pastor says it all the time, right? It's about people. It's not about spaces.
Yeah. The space is just used for people.
Exactly. So. Yeah. And so
it's God's anyways.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's, I think, another great example of just how something small and simple like that, just having a YouTube link or a Facebook link that we were able to send off to a friend allowed someone to say, my life has changed now because I started going 20 days of prayer and I went to Sunday, and then, you know, so forth.
That makes me think of 1 Corinthians 9:20 says, like, Paul says, I became like a Jew to win the Jews. Right. Or
he got down in the culture of them to be. Yeah.
So he adjusted, and again, it's righteous, consistent with the Bible, obviously. Can't say that enough. I think it's good to preface with that. Obviously, you can't just be whatever, do whatever you want just to get. So it's like consistency, but you're adjusting a little bit to how the people are.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
100%.
I think Jesus adjusted to people a lot.
He did.
He was inconvenienced. He wasn't saying, I'm this way and you have to adjust to me. He was saying, I love all of you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like you, or I'm going to do me, regardless of you a little bit. Like, I'm just going to get to you however I can. Like, think about the Samaritan woman. Yeah. It was super weird for Jews to talk to Samaritans culturally back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
They hated each other.
Yeah, he came up to this woman like, hey.
And he's a man, and she's a woman too.
Yeah.
Add that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that applies for sure with the yard sign things. Like,
right.
It's amazing how God works through signs. Like, those
physical and
stupid yard. They're so cool too. I saw a random one. It was an Easter one.
Let's go.
A month ago.
I know people still have them up. They just leave them.
It was in the most random place. It was off like Whole Street, basically.
Nice.
I was driving on.
That's amazing.
Is that Easter?
Easter at the chapel, 2026.
So which shows it really worked. Yeah, for next year, right? Go and start advertising now. Why not?
Right? I mean, never too early.
But it's like you guys have been great at like kind of adjusting to the culture.
Yeah.
A little bit in a conservative way. Obviously, not doing whatever works. It's not whatever works, but is like what does work.
Yeah. And to your point, I think
it's nice how you have boundaries in what you do while adjusting culture. So
absolutely. Yeah. Because Jesus,
do a great job with that.
He didn't compromise truth. He didn't compromise who he was. He still stayed the exact same. He'll still tell you the truth to your face. Sometimes it hurt, right?
Yeah.
But he was very flexible with his lifestyle, with how he interacted. You know, like you said, he was happy to be inconvenienced. He was happy to change, where he was going. He's happy to be at a venue that maybe was very culturally undesirable to be there or be around these people. But he never changed. So it's like we have to keep truth objective.
Exactly.
But then change, hey, are we willing to go into spaces? Are we willing to have interactions with people that are different, but still say, hey, I'm going to stand on the Bible, right? I'm going to stand on what God says, but we'll do whatever it takes in order to get that to you, right? Outside of, doing something immoral.
Obviously. Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Life Church has the saying, right? We'll do anything short of sin to reach you, right? And that's the idea, of course, is we're going to find whatever makes sense in culture, whatever makes sense in your community, et cetera, to get the message to you. The message is not going to change, but how we get there, the method may change. And that's okay.
I'm sure everything you guys have done, God has laid on someone's heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you got to bring some sort of spiritual element into it. It's not just a humanly idea. Let's, work on our cameras. Let's work on our lights. Like, totally. I think there's got to be some. Is there an aspect of that? Absolutely. Has God laid things on your heart in that sense? Like
100%. I would say, in Mark, in the beginning of Mark, there's the story of the paralytic man, right? Who his friends, they know ultimately what he needs physically and spiritually is Jesus. That's what he needs. And so they know he can't get there on his own. He literally can't walk, right? He's paralyzed. And so they pick him up, they carry him, they put a hole in someone's roof. Of course, we don't do that necessarily, but they do what is necessary to get him to Jesus. And I think all those little production things, the lights, the sound, all of those elements are how do we remove barriers to get someone from here to Jesus, right? We bring down the light so you feel like you could have a moment with God and no one's just staring at you, right? The music's a little louder so that it doesn't feel like the person next to you is judging your voice.
Right.
You're able to have the lyrics on screen, the amount of times you might walk into a church and it's your first time. You don't know a single song. You can either be a participant watching everyone, or the lyrics can be there and you can be engaging with them, right? All of these elements, I think, come out of that idea of how do we remove barriers and make God accessible to people in the easiest way possible.
You just summed up what we had been talking about for probably 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So well, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that scripture unlocked, ready to go, and it just proves, and then of course 1 Corinthians 9, I think it lines up with what you said. So well. 100%. So yeah, it's so cool. Jesus shows he'll do whatever he can. There's a scripture, I gotta get it memorized, but basically he'll go find the one,
absolutely,
and leave the 99. And I think he's more delighted, I believe it says, than to get the one than to stay with the 99.
Right,
something along those lines. And
so
grateful God will go out of his way to get that one. And so I think that's the mindset you guys apply with what you do. So
yeah.
So at Moseley, do you have the lights and the things? And so that's
not as many, not as many as Midlow. Midlow definitely has a few more bells and whistles. Because we're meeting in a middle school cafetorium, so it is. Or an elementary school, an elementary school cafetorium. So it's a cafe in the middle of the day, and it's a gym, the other times throughout the day. And so we don't have maybe all of the things, but we work with what we have, right? There's light switches all around the room. So there's someone's job is literally to be on charge of the light switches. And so they are like constantly running around like, now hit that switch, now do that, lower the screen with that switch. Like, little things like that. But that role on the outside, you might think, that seems unimportant. Like your job is to walk around and hit switches. But one of those switches allows us to bring a screen down, which allows us to connect digitally with all our campuses, right, through our live stream. One of those switches brings down the lights and helps direct your focus upwards rather than on the person next to you, right? All these little things have meaning and value. And so it looks different across each of the campuses with the equipment they have, what the tech they have. But I think the heart behind it is still the exact same.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think it's so cool how like someone can have such a simple job, but be so transformative to have them or not have them. Yeah. Or rather so important, I guess. Just
absolutely.
Simple word.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. I'm sure they feel special just being on that switch duty. It might give a little anxiety too. Like, oh, shoot.
Absolutely. You don't want to get the screen time wrong, The beginning when we first started, it was a learning curve, right? It'd be like, start, bring it down, like, oh, bring it back up, bring it back down. You're like, oh gosh. Like,
do you wear headsets?
No.
Or
we don't actually.
Do you use Discord?
Nope. So I know some of the campuses do have a communication relay that way. One, there's not a great Wi-Fi signal within the room because of the concrete just walls, how the school is designed. It's actually designed to block those signals and stuff. Like you can't make a phone call inside there just because they don't want that happening because it's a school for protection and so forth during the week. So it really comes down to communication ahead of time and having the team really locked in together of knowing like, here's what we do, when we do it, and why we do it. Because I think if you know the why, that helps when the moments change. Because no longer you're hit on like at the 5-second mark, I hit this. It's more, no. When Pastor Brandon is finished, when he's hit that transitional moment and it feels like the room is now switching back to local, that's when you're going to make the switch back to local, right? Okay. It's not the exact like, okay, and he said the right word, now we switch.
Right.
So it's a lot of communication and a lot of knowing the heart behind why we're doing it that allows, I think, it to flow without having headsets, without, having that immediate direct, line of feedback and so forth.
Impressive, honestly. Yeah. I'm sure most teams without good leaders are going to have to, just hope they hit it at the right time. Then it's awkward and they don't, for 100%. Example. But again, that displays the leadership. So it's amazing. Yeah. And I'm grateful, dude, you were able to hop on the podcast.
Thank you, man. This is awesome.
We'll wrap up at this point. And thankful I have this lighting. You were actually the one who suggested these lights to me. So
absolutely.
Went on Amazon, sent a package to the house, and
boom, and then look at it. It looks great.
All you have to do is
an awesome job.
Yeah, put some tripods up, and then put up. It's literally a bulb with a softener.
Exactly.
On the front.
It's just a sheet in front of it.
Yeah. Like I thought it was more complicated. Like when you don't know, you don't know. So
exactly.
And you're in your head like, it's gonna be a bunch of money, but it wasn't. Thankfully, just able to get that up and got the iPhone camera.
Come on, man. Hey, iPhone camera makes it work.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, come on. I paid $1,000 for that phone. Yeah, exactly.
No
reason to go too big yet. I'm sure the church started that way where it was small and then went up.
And you're focused on the message right now, less on the production value and more on the value given in the production.
That's good.
And so I think you got it, man. This is great. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Yeah. Hope everything sounds good and.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thankful that the mics are just phenomenal. Like I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I didn't spend too much money on this setup, but
that's great.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But
cool.
Grateful everyone was able to listen to anyone that did listen, and we'll definitely see you guys next time.
100%. Thanks, man.
So.